All right, we are live. Welcome to the first live streaming on our next live build series. This is going to be Mando Time. We are working on a full suit of Beskar for the titular Mandalorian. And so tonight we are going to be diving headfirst into this pile of templates right here. This is not the first set of templates. This is not the second set of templates. This is not even the third set of templates. This is like the fourth set of templates because I've not been happy with several different ones of these. But I think we're finally to a place where we can call this quality templates that we will be releasing eventually here. And so today we are actually just going to start with the helmet. This is the Renewolf model of the Beskar helmet. And I have actually already cut out the majority of the pieces in 6mm foam here. So tonight we are going to try to see how far we can get into detailing this and maybe even gluing it together. So let's get going. Now, the first thing we're going to need to do is set all of these 6mm pieces aside because we are about to make some... Oh, actually, I forgot to cut this little rectangle out. One moment. We are going to need to cut this out real quick. It's just a quick little rectangle. This is the rectangle that goes at the back of the helmet on the inside that will get layered with some 2mm foam in just a minute. But before we even get into 2mm foam, we are going to go ahead and cut a few pieces of 8mm foam for some thickness about the midsection of the helmet and for some of the detail pieces. What do I mean by that? Oh, hello. Blade popped out. This happened last time too. I think I need to get a new knife. This one keeps releasing for some reason. Super weird. All right, we're gonna get some 8mm foam for some of the thicker detail pieces. For that I mean pieces like the side pieces for the ears, if you will. As well as the sort of box that goes around the detail pieces in the back of the helmet. We're going to make that out of thicker foam rather than just doing a weird recessed thing. We're actually going to just make it thicker than the rest of the piece there. We're also going to be gluing this down to the foam. Actually, excuse me, this 6mm piece, which goes over the top, down to this foam. So it's a little thicker overall, but we still have that nice HD foam finish over the top. So let's go ahead and trace some of this out. I'm actually going to very loosely trace where this piece is going to go because I want to leave enough space for it where it's not going to get cut into by anything. Just going to loosely trace where that's going to go so that I don't trace over it with any of the other pieces. Hey there, Diabolical Props. How are we doing tonight? Let's go ahead, really flatten this down on the table. And then I am going to trace out 2 of these earpieces. When I work in black foam, I always trace in a metallic Sharpie. I find it's the easiest way for me to see it. I know you can use like a white chalk marker, but I find that has a greater tendency to smudge for me. So to that end, silver Sharpie right here. One thing that I have noticed recently, and I have no practical application for that yet. I'm doing pretty well, Diabolical Props. I'm doing pretty well. It's been a full day, but I'm really excited to be at the bench making. One thing I've noticed, again, I have no practical application for this technique yet. Silver and metallic Sharpies will protect foam from a heat gun, which by which I mean sort of that the Captain Rex right there. Yeah, that's foam right there. It's almost entirely foam. There's of course there's a tinted visor up here, and this little piece in the rebreather there is actually made of an old that I thought looked kind of like that. But yeah, the rest of that is it's all foam. in there. This is actually not even made out of HD foam. That's made out of the white foam that you can get from Michael's. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, no, these guys are all foam. All foam. It's a foam armory. It's what we do. Not only is that made out of foam, so's this. He walks out of frame. This is an upcoming build. I'm gonna get it back off screen. But just a little tidbit for anybody who's curious about that. Where was I? What was I talking about? Lord, what was I talking about? Oh, Silver Sharpie. Silver Sharpie protects foam from a heat gun. So if you're looking to do a technique where you want to, say, burn the foam a little bit, it'll burn everywhere but the Silver Sharpie. And I as yet have no practical application for this knowledge. But I discovered it recently, so I've been actually more sparing with my use of the Silver Sharpie because I know that it sort of keeps the heat gun from doing its thing, especially on on foam that's not dark like this foam. There we go. Almost got that all traced out now. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Diabolical Props. That sucks. It's so hard because for me, I on some level I have to create time for this because I do a lot of commissions, I do a lot of small sales, and you know it's very important to my income. It's supplemental income for me that really helps me stay sane and stay in a good financial position. But it's so hard when there's just no time for this because this is such a creative outlet for me. And these streams especially kind of keep me sane. The days get kind of long. Heck, you're totally right. That would actually make a pretty good faux Damascus. Oh my gosh, now I want to see if I could... now I want to see if I could make a really funky Beskar ingot with that technique. I bet you it'd be pretty easy too. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, if this works, y'all are going to get a really cool quick tip over on my Facebook to that effect. I don't know if it'd make a really good video, but it'd make a crazy quick tip. All right. Here we go. I'm just cutting out the rectangle at the back of the helmet now. Just doing my very best to keep those lines as clean and neat as possible. Because the more I do right now to make it pretty, the more... Oh, shoot. I cut that very poorly. I cut that very, very poorly. We'll cut another one in a moment. I'll cut the rest of these for now. We got the ear cups, which we'll just loosely cut out here. And then this isn't going to get cut out. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat for this long piece because this isn't going to get cut out till after I glue this in place so I can just cut it out using the outside of this as a guide because I'm lazy. Never do more work than you need to, unless it is to make 4 versions of the patterns you're making first. Then do tons of work. Although arguably, I guess I needed to do that work. So never do more work than you need to. LOL. For those of you just joining us, we are working on Mando's helmet. This is going to be the Beskar version, so we are... Actually, there's only one version of his helmet. Excuse me. This is going to be just a full suit of Beskar when we're all done, but we are currently just working on the helmet. We're going to see how far we can get on that on stream tonight. So stick around. All right, let's see here. I'm going to split this up the middle so that I can cut these out separately. And then I'm going to... Why does this blade keep coming undone? Lord. Somebody at me a better construction blade. Ace Hardware is letting me down. I have no idea what's going on. Okay. Good evening, Melvin. Good evening. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to use this X-Acto, and we're going to cut out the basic outside shape of the cups of the ears. And if this isn't 100% perfect, that's okay. We are going to do a ton of shaping on the earpieces. So I am not concerned if these cuts are 100% perfect, because we're going to need to do a ton of sanding on this piece anyways. We're not saving ourselves a ton of time by getting it 100% correct right away. There we go. For really curved cuts, especially through thick foam, I try to keep my blade as vertical as possible, not just at a 90-degree angle with the table, but also as tilted up as possible, so that I have a really tight radius that I'm cutting. And sometimes it does leave a little bit of an edge to be desired on the inside bottom edge of that, but the upper edge doesn't have a weird funky curve to the... I've covered it before. Yeah, I'm in the Midwest. You're in Kansas City. Yeah, no, I'm a Minnesota boy. I'm a Minnesota man, but no, I'm a Minnesota boy. And yeah, it's mostly Ace Hardware and like Home Depot out here. Although I have a Fleet Farm that's been my recent hookup for DAP and a couple other things, just because it's like a couple bucks cheaper. Use the cheap ones from Harbor Freight because I'm always misplacing them. Amazing. That's amazing. That's a great... That's the same theory behind why... No, I hope you don't take any offense to this Danger Angel cosplay. That is the same mentality behind my mother having 80 pairs of reading glasses. I don't even think that's an exaggeration. It's, the goal is a cosplay knife within reach at any given moment. You never know when you're going to need to. All right. So now I'm going to cut the other side of this out. Let's see here. Cut in right there. And we're going to cut straight down. This is actually a rare example, this piece, the earpieces, of the way that I tend to brutalize Pepakura, which is the earpieces in Pepakura. For those of you who you work with Pepakura a lot, that's totally fine. But Pepakura is a 3D modeling program that lets you unfold pieces into paper templates, which I sort of hack into foam, like a lot of other cosplayers. I'm not alone in this. But what I tend to do a lot is if there's a bunch of pieces that are sort of a mishmash that I would, build up on a single piece, I tend to make them one solid piece in the templates over here. So this is an example. This is an example of the way that I sort of mess with Pepakura that way. Olfa heavy-duty black blades. 3 pairs of reading glasses on the side table while wearing a pair. Amazing. No, I do. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I would find a new knife faster if it weren't for the fact that this is super comfortable and super durable. I don't know. The only thing that I really need in a knife like this is I just need a big, hefty metal guard, because I remember the days where I was a starving college student. And I would say, yeah, the dollar knife is good enough. And sure, it was good enough, but I'd like shatter the guard at the top because the whole thing would be made of plastic. And then you're just left with this knife that sort of like flails out. It's terrible. It's terrible. If there's one thing I could tell past cosplay me, it would be to just invest in the slightly better tools. I'm not even talking about the top tier tools. Like that's a Harbor Freight sander. This is not terribly expensive in the context of what we're talking about. But I probably could have picked one up for like $5. And it would have been terrible. It would have been terrible. I don't know. Just invest in yourself like a little bit. I'm not even saying go whole hog on any particular thing just on a whim. But don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Here we go. All right. I don't know. What advice would you guys give to your younger selves in terms of like being a crafter, or being like a real person. That's what I want to know. Just, I don't know. Every time I sit down at the bench, I feel like I learn something new, and that's a good thing. But every so often, I feel like I make a decision, I make a jump to something that I wasn't at before, and I realize, oh, I've been making life very hard on myself in the name of saving $1. Here we go. And now we're just going to cut over the curve here. I tell you, the one thing I would love to have that is definitely a luxury item, it's not something you need to have for this kind of work, I would love to have a bandsaw. That would make some of these cuts just so extraordinarily, not just easier, but faster. Oh, instead of doing this crazy guess and check stuff, I could just run it through the saw. Be great. All right, now that I've cut out the earpieces, I have to retrace this piece because I absolutely bought it. Yes, absolutely. Buy yourself a respirator. Buy yourself a respirator. They're not even that expensive, specifically because people want you to be safe. Like, there's a crazy notion that respirators aren't super expensive because Lord knows people actually want you to be safe. I don't know, if you can't get a respirator, at least get yourself some like N95s or heck, like fabric masks are everywhere now. It's something at least. I'm not saying that everything can be countered by a fabric mask. That's crazy. I'm just here to say that, like, take care of yourself. Be safe. Wear safety glasses. Right? Oh, God, I bet it is danger. I bet it is. No, bandsaw is definitely on the... story time. Tea time with Jaden. My little brother... So my grandparents recently made a move for warmer climates, you know, for health reasons. And my grandfather was a handyman for years. Years. And when he was going, you know, he kept a lot. But, you know, when you've been a handyman for 50 years, you've got an abundance of tools and things, and sometimes you've got doubles up of things. And he had several tools that everybody was kind of vying for. But my little brother swooped in, and he's the one who made off with the bandsaw. And I'm jealous. I'm mad jealous. Because I got some really cool tools out of that. I won't lie. Huge thanks to my grandfather, who's definitely helped me get ahead in just... I don't even know if it's like my prop career, but like just in being ready to own a house someday, hopefully. Because I have the tools and like the means to actually, you know, take care of something I own. And I really love that. But my little brother, he got the bandsaw, so I'm mad jealous. Mad jealous. Let's see. Where are we at here? Heck yeah, diabolical props. Well, here's the other thing about starting now. Oh, that's nice, Danger. I like that. I don't know if I can take that attitude with my fiance, but I like it. Here's the thing about like the attitude of just make things for the sake of making things. It's not just about, oh, it doesn't matter if you're very good right now. This is also a crazy forgiving medium, because there's so much room for not only interpretation, but also your own ability to be like, and he's got a scratch right here because I gave him a scratch. Just cause, and that's just a thing in cosplay. That's not a thing in other art forms, you'll know. Well, that's not true. Bob Ross would have been on the side of happy little battle damage. He really would have. I've always wanted to make that particular meme, and I've never felt like I had the good format for it. No way. I did it again. What is it about that cut? Okay, alright. This is real time. This is go time now. Okay, one more try. This is getting insane. I actually want to make progress on this helmet. So I can't afford to just be cutting and recutting out this one piece. I think what's happening is because I cut it out on the outside first rather than cutting out the inner rectangle, it's basically getting too structurally weak around the cut I'm trying to make. So it's wibbling really funny. So I'm going to try to cut out the inner rectangle first, which is not something I normally do, but this is getting on my nerves. Focus up. Yeah, mistakes are a big part of your props journey, and that's a good thing. It's a really good thing. And it's good that mistakes are just kind of a part of your life in a meaningful way. I don't know. I mentioned recently I started a new job, and it's been going very well. It's been very nice. They've been extremely nice to me, and they've been extremely accommodating of the fact that I am also, doing this. But one of the things that they've been super appreciative of, and it's kind of an attitude I've had to adopt because I think it's very important, is not making the same mistakes twice. And that's really the attitude I think you need to take in general, is that there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. There's nothing wrong with cutting this out again because I want to get it right. What would be wrong is if the next time I go to do a helmet, I make this mistake 3 times again. That would be me not learning, and I think that's more an important message here. See, I'm not messing up. I'm an educational tool. Yeah, no, that's what I do. I do the corner to corner thing. But the problem that I was running into was I was just getting off in my overall cut. I was just wibbling away from my line a little, and it was getting away from me. So now if I go through and remove this rectangle, I should be able to get some pretty clean lines on the outer faces here without too much work. Whew. That's the real crafter's maneuver right there, is switching very rapidly from one knife to the next, but still like putting it back, because you know what happens when you don't. How will I make the helmet look like chrome? I'm glad you asked. This up here, and of course we're not going to do chrome tonight because that'll involve a lot of other materials too, and like chemicals and dry times. But as part of this build, I took the dive on some graphite powder, which some of you may recognize. Punished Props did a really good thing about this a while back. I've really wanted to work with it in the past, but if you take this guy and you wipe it over a gloss base, you can get a really nice shiny chrome polished finish. And then we're going to seal that off. And it won't be perfectly chrome, but it will be about as good as we can get without jumping the gun to the kinds of materials that are going to be really, really out there. But I think we're going to get really far with this, which is very exciting for me personally. This is a huge bump in terms of my crafting quality, frankly. All right, let's see here. 1 for the money. 2 for the show. 3 to get ready. Come on. And 4 to go. There we go. This stupid little rectangle. Okay, all right. So now, because we're not going to cut this out again until we start gluing, I think what makes the most sense... Yeah, I think what makes the most sense is... No, actually, I should glue this down first. Sorry, I just realized that in terms of the order of things, what I'm actually going to want to do is flatten this piece out and glue down and cut out the sort of fin across the top now. so that I can do more detailing on it and then do the major glue session in just a minute. There we go. So happy that we got so many people stopping in to say hi. This has been a really, really fun live stream so far, and we're not even halfway done, so let's dig in. I am going to get out some contact cement. One of the things I love about this new shop space, because as much as you're like, correct, Diabolical Props, get a respirator, there's great ventilation in here, and if I just nudge open that window there, we are actually getting a ton of ventilation through here, so I have been able to do a lot more gluing and contact stuff indoors, which has been super nice. Alright, I'm going to give this contact cement a quick stir. I use DAP for what it's worth. I am fully aware and have used in the past Barge. Barge is like a great contact cement. But I do think it's not strictly necessary for foam. And I like the fact that DAP is a little thinner because I don't get as much gunking. I don't feel like I need to do a ton of cleanup. Usually, that is. Provided I'm being careful. Alright, let's see here. Alright. One of the things that's really important with contact cement, on foam at least, is that you don't glop it in one area and leave it. You really gotta spread it out pretty quickly, because it will try to gunk up and gum up in that spot, and that's not what we want. We really want a nice even layer there. All right. Yeah, so part of the reason that we're doing it this way, and we're putting the glue on these two pieces and cutting them out first, is because we're going to do a ton of sanding on this. Sanding that I will want to use the join line between these two pieces sort of as a guide. So we're going to want that now rather than later. And the good news is we can do just this one piece and then go back and glue the rest of it together. All right. Making sure that we get all the way to the edges, all the way down this strap. And then we're going to heat this up gently and sort of get this to dry and do a second coat. Yeah, DAP is just a really accessible contact cement. It's widely available. Yes, absolutely. I'm totally with you on that. When the urge strikes, it's really nice. Like, as much as I am very much pro get the thing that's slightly better, it's also worth knowing what you can do with the materials that you can get at all hours. Like, that's part of my argument for the foam that you can get at Michael's, or even to some degree the foam you can get at Hobby Lobby, because it's my local craft store. If I can get it locally, if I need it now, I will buy it locally, because that's easier than waiting for it to ship if I'm, in a hurry, or if I've suddenly picked up in volume. And that's just the reality sometimes, is it doesn't matter how ahead you're looking. If suddenly you get a really big order, a really tall order, you're just in a position where you're going to need more now. That's life. And DAP on a lot of levels is that. There we go. The good news is we're not actually like lining up anything in a meaningful sense for like the final piece here. So I'm basically just going to slap this down however it fits on here. Because it's not, this isn't like a cosmetic join we're doing right here. This is just so that we have more thickness to this piece. Even more than we would have if, say, we were making like using like 10mm foam. Because we are going to use this join line for lots of different things. We're going to use it as like our guideline for detailing and gluing it together later. So this is going to be, it's going to be very effective. Again, trying to make sure that I'm not missing any of the edge there. Awesome. Ooh, I'm so excited to be working on like the final versions of all of these. I've thrown most of them out, but there was a series, especially for the shoulder for some reason. I couldn't get the shape of the shoulder quite right because it's round. You know, the shoulder bell of the Mandalorian is very round, but it's still very square in the sense that it goes over a human being. And I don't know, I was not quite nailing it right, and I don't like. This is going to sound a little pretentious. I don't like using other people's templates very much. For a lot of different reasons. Some of it's because I sometimes feel like it's a cop-out for me personally, because I'll be like, oh, you're getting my time and I'm just sort of using somebody else's shtick. But more than that, I find that my methods of construction tend to be a little different than what other people do. I try to avoid a lot of edge joins. I like layered joins a lot more. I find they're a little more comfy and a little stronger. And that's just me. And sometimes, especially with how much Pepicura that I do, I find that maybe I'm looking at a template and I don't like the shape quite enough, but because it's already a two-dimensional shape, I don't feel like I have the power to go in and make the changes that I want to. So I like to make my own templates. Okay, here we go. Just gonna lay this down. Lay this down. Oh, thank God. There we go. I'm glad I traced it out beforehand, because if I hadn't, if I just guessed that, I would have guessed very poorly, because you'll note that is the corner, and that is the edge of the piece. Lord. Okay. Here we go. So now, this is super nice because this is a really uncomplicated thing to wrap up on now, because all I'm going to do is take my long blade, extra bonus sharpen it, because we're going to kind of be running through some glue here. But now that it's all tacked down, I'm just going to use the edge of this as the guide for cutting it. Being extra careful not to cut into the top layer. Ooh, yeah, and that's the good squeak of a knife through glue. Ah! There we go. Oof. But the results. Ooh, that's spicy. Oh, I'm gonna show my little off camera right here, just how clean that is. And then I'm gonna show you kind folks just how clean that is, because, ooh, why are you focusing on the clone trooper? What? There we go. Smooth. Look at that. Awesome. Okay, so now I'm gonna cut out the rest of this here. This won't take more than a couple seconds. I don't know, my favorite thing is when you're working and suddenly you're to a point in your construction where every step you're making is like a series of like a few seconds rather than like several minutes on one thing. Like next week, I am currently in the middle of a craft off with Tristan Maker. He's another small-time YouTuber here on the platform, and we're doing Lord of the Rings weapons. And it just so happens that my weapon is like hexagonal, so there's a lot of repeated shapes. So there were sessions that were like an hour where it was just me doing the same thing 6 times in a row to try and get the shape right. There we go. Which is just so tedious sometimes. It can really hold you back as a prop maker if you're feeling like it's just no fun at all. There we go. Sweet. So now when I glue this together, I'll have a lot more surface area to join it to the rest of the helmet. I can really smash it in at the front. That'll be super nice. Okay, so next up on the docket, I think what we're going to need to do is cut a few pieces out of 2mm foam. And they're going to be pieces off of the main pieces of other stuff. So like there's a rectangle out of 6mm that's going to go in this 8mm one. So that when I glue them together, it's going to rest ever so nicely inside of there, like that. But there's going to be some 2mm pieces on that. so that we're getting that recess, but we're also getting all of that detail. And that's all going to need to be cut out of 2mm foam. And I think for my own sanity, I'm actually going to label these pieces like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 here down at the bottom. Because otherwise I'm going to lose track of them, and then inexplicably they will fit together wrong. So let's get some 2mm craft foam out. Yeah, that'll be more than enough. Oh, this will be way more than enough. And then we're going to cut out these pieces. I'm actually going to cut a smaller piece of 2mm out here, because this is way more than I need. There we go. That's going to be... Dang nabbit. Boy, nothing like YouTube live streaming to get you in the habit of using, like, very mild swear words. All right. Let's go ahead. I'm going to grab my scissors. And we're just going to start cutting this. And as we cut it out, I'm going to trace onto the 2mm so that even if I lose one of these pieces, I'll already have traced it out. Which I know is sort of planning for failure, but sometimes you fail. I feel like that's been a theme of tonight, so we're just going to be on top of it, okay, guys? Don't be mad. LOL. No. This is a good time. I'm really having a good time with you folks here on stream tonight. This has been very pleasant. I don't know. I don't think I'm depressed right now. I think that life is rough, and not because of like anything that I've done. You know, I don't think there's a choice somewhere down the line that I made that would have been like, man, there's not a global pandemic. I just think that it's, you know, I've gotten to do more stuff with the shop. I've got a new job. I've got things going on, and it's nice. But it's really nice to be on stream here, to be on stream and get to, you know, connect with some people all over the place. Kansas City, like, super happy to be here. And it's just nice to see people and interact with people in a community that I generally love. I love the prop making community. I've talked about this before. Prop making is one of the only communities that I have found where there's just a lot of people genuinely excited, especially for newcomers. Other than barbershop. I do barbershop, like quartet singing and that sort of stuff. And those guys are also like equally excited about new people and just sharing knowledge and whatnot. I don't know. I'll give a little tangent here for anybody who is curious. One of the things that I love about barbershop is they have something called polecats, and I think that every hobby has polecats in it. And what polecats are, you're absolutely correct, Danger. That's so real. It's so real. It's very important that we're all just very patient with one another and, you know, trying to be positive. But, you know, life is hard. But what I was trying to say is that barbershop has polecats, and I love the concept of polecats. Polecats are songs that everybody who does barbershop, like, hypothetically should know, because that way, anytime they meet other barbershoppers, they can go through what polecats they know, and you can just sing those songs. So there's songs that are designed, well, maybe not designs, but there's songs that have sort of been ingrained in a way that they make it easier for you to sing with just random people that you meet. And I love that. I love that attitude. I think cosplay and costuming have things like that. Like foam, I think for a long time, foam cosplay, the the polecat of foam cosplay was making a Captain America helmet. For some reason, making a Captain America helmet was just a thing you were supposed to do. So that when somebody else did it too, you could be like, look, here's mine. And that is such a thing. I'm not totally certain what it was. I know JF Custom had a template for a long time that was considered to be like a very easy starter helmet, and then people started modifying it. I modified it. I sold the one I made for that actually. But it's just kind of one of those things where, you know, the community sort of gives life to itself like that, and I love that. And I love these live streams. Love relaxing on these live streams. Oh, by the way, if any of you feel so inclined, I do have a Patreon. There is a link down below. That's really all I'm going to say about it, other than I add extra templates over there. Some of these templates show up in advance over there, but I also do other things that are just random extra stuff. I recently added a Bo-Katan helmet template for my patrons. So, I mean, if that's something you've been looking for, it's over there. Here we go. Gosh, this is arguably slowing me down more than anything. I did not expect this to be quite as tedious as it's becoming. Here we go. You know what? It is kind of like what I said, though. It's that repetitive motion thing. Like, these pieces are almost identical. That's what's going on here. I'm just not feeling super inspired by that. There we go. 4. Oh, there we go. Go. Oh, shine on me in the morning, shine on me. I wonder if the lighthouse will shine on me. Oh, shine on me in the evening, shine on me. Will the light in the lighthouse shine on me? Well, you haven't gotten that notification? I'm sorry, I threw it out there earlier today. This is like today I put out Bo-Katan's helmet on my Patreon because I was like, I'm in a Mandalorian mood. I stumbled across this model. It was really cool. I only had to do a little bit of like extra work to clean it up and make them like some really, really nice templates, I think. So if you're interested in them, they should be over on the Patreon now. And they should be for all my patrons. For what it's worth, everybody on my Patreon gets a shout out in my videos. They also get access to all these templates and stuff. And for people who pay just like a little bit more, they get to vote on things. Again, we got to vote on making this guy. That video is still coming out next week. But yeah, I don't sell a ton of templates. For the ones I do sell, I sell quite a bit of them over on Etsy. There's like I have a really nice Clone Trooper helmet that I've worked on for a while. I really feel good about the quality of that template, honestly. I have some patterns for some really fun half masks too. Because a little while back we made, I don't know if any of you have been following the channel for a while, but we made 3 fun half masks. I have a free pattern for a Sub-Zero mask, and then I've also got two patterns. Each of them are $3, and they're for a Ghost of Tsushima Mempo mask, as well as the new mask from the 2021 Dune movie. And so those patterns are over on my Etsy, but most of my patterns are pretty free. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. No, I love that. I loved that build. It's been super fun. And it's worth noting that my patrons did vote for another build too, like in addition to that. And I am working on getting to it. But I have already made those templates totally available to my patrons, even if I haven't gotten that build totally done. So, you know, working on trying to honor the spirit of everything and make sure everybody's getting some cool stuff for sticking around and being patrons. Like, it's pretty cool. It's so weird, because, like, when I started doing the channel a few months ago, I was not really sure it would be anything other than a good forum for me to sort of project myself and project, that I do this kind of work, and that I not only do I do the work, I sell the work if you're interested. I sell templates and whatnot. But it's been really nice to have, some people following and interested, and, people who support. And I really appreciate all the support, frankly. Ugh. Here we go. And then this is the last 2mm piece. My wild Irish rose, the sweetest flower that grows. I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Ephraim? Ephraim 300? It's a pretty good night. It's a pretty good Thursday, and tomorrow's Friday, which means it's basically already Saturday, so. All right. Let's see. Cut out this section, which will be the back section. And then I think that we're actually going to cut out most of these detail pieces out of 2mm foam too, which will be great, because now the overlays for the side of the helmet, they're not super thick is the thing, but they are raised in a way that I don't want to just offset the foam back and forth. I actually just want to build it up. So to that end, I'm going to cut straight across here. We're going to make 2 of these. Then we're going to make 2 of these as well. And I think we're going to burn, or I think we actually might just burn in the details on this. Or I could burn that groove in and then cut out this rectangle. That might actually be easier in the long run. There we go. I think I need to replace the blade in my X-Acto. For those of you who don't know, I wear out the blades in my X-Acto knives. I have a nasty tendency of sharpening them until they're so fine that they just break. I think that some of that comes from being a little cheap, but some of it's also because I do know some prop makers who are replacing their blades so frequently that I cannot imagine they make money. Any plans for the holidays? What with the pandemic, we did have some plans, my fiance and I. We were looking at potentially trying to be a part of a good friend of ours' wedding that they had. We engaged to be a part of this like a year ago almost. And regrettably, things have just not gotten better. And then my fiance got sick nothing too bad. You know, we're all doing good. But so that's kind of gone out the window. No, it looks like this year it's going to be very quiet. It's going to be some good quality at home time, taking care of our dog Kia and my cat Lupita, and it's going to be just very, very nice to curl up. We have a fireplace now. I don't know, for anybody who doesn't know, we just moved. This is a new shop space. It's been really nice. I've got to hang up lights and things for once, so it's not just a huge hassle to record or anything. And also I can close off my craft space so that it's not just invading the house. I know there's more than one person here who knows the horror of just sort of, without trying to, encroaching on the space of your SO. Like that's no good. But our new apartment actually has a fireplace, which is super cool. I've never had a fireplace before, so we've had to look up exactly how to take care of it, make sure that we're doing the right things. But it's been super cozy. You know, in the winter times, it's nice to be able to just sort of relax, even if it's not necessarily what we'd originally planned on. That's okay. 1 second. Here's the left one. Sorry, I had to make sure I was properly identifying my right and left here. We are staying safe, and I think that's the important thing here, is that even if it's not what we originally planned on, you know, we're staying safe. We're doing the thing. We're being good and trying to limit our contact. It's interesting because, like I said, I started a new job, and for those of you who don't know, Minnesota has had to walk back a lot of COVID restrictions, which is unfortunate. It is what it is, and I'm not gonna sit here and pontificate about that right now. It's just not worth it. But I, in my new job, am technically essential. Like I work as a teller right now, which means that even though like lobby stuff closes down and lots of guidelines go into place, I don't stop working, which is just kind of weird. It's arguably one of the safer things I could be doing, for sure. It's just kind of weird to say that. I didn't think there was going to be a point in my life where I looked at myself and said, yeah, I'm an essential worker. Feels a little big for my britches, actually. You know, that might be the weirdest thing for me to come out of this pandemic, is to feel like there was a point at which my ego was being inflated by the sake of the pandemic. Does that make sense? Just kind of weird. Just overall weird. Here we go. Right. And right. Oh, yay! These are the last pieces I think we need to cut out. Other than, of course, the visor. But the visor we're going to be gluing in after we painted everything and taken care of everything else. So I'm not concerned about the visor just yet. Sweet. So, let's see. It's only 7:53. I think we're going to go ahead and try and cut everything out and super glue some of the funky small details down. And then, I don't know, maybe we'll start heat forming everything. I don't know if we're going to get everything glued together because we still have a bunch of sanding to do on these, which is, I think, the real thing that's going to stymie us right now. Oh, I got to reset this camera. That's the other thing. We now have 2 angles at all times. We've got this guy, we've got a little camera down here, and both of them can capture this really fun monitor where you can kind of see what we're doing. This is incidentally why I think it's really important for anybody out there who likes my templates. If you like my templates, download Pepakura, because the templates I make are better in Pepakura. because you can use a 3D model and you can actually click on the 3D model and it'll show you which template piece that is, which is super great. And it's free. Actually, this is a great segue. I'm doing a giveaway. We just hit 500 subscribers and I'm over the moon about it. So we're doing 2 giveaways in, I think, like 2 weeks' time now. I'm going to be giving away a free code for full access to Pepakura because it's a free program, but you can buy a code for it to unlock all the special features and goodies and whatnot. So we're going to be giving away a free Pepakura code, as well as I'm going to be giving away just one of the builds from my channel, just one of these builds, of your choice. And so all you got to do is there's another video of mine. It's my 500 subscriber giveaway. It's the most recent video. You just got to comment and subscribe. That's all it is. And you know, I've already done a giveaway. I've already done these things. I love doing these things, frankly. So I mean, go enter. Go enter. Enjoy yourselves. I will be cutting out this piece. There we go. I will say one thing I think is actually like a master level technique in terms of like foam and cosplay is getting really clean edges on 2mm foam, because that will make your small details look sharp. It'll make everything about your piece look better. How and when did I get into crafting? Oh my gosh. Really digging deep here, aren't we? So I want to get this number right. It was something like 1,000,000 years ago. No, I'm kidding. It was like 8 years ago now. I stumbled upon the Indie Mogul channel. For those of you who don't know, Indie Mogul is just a really fun YouTube channel about, it's like a beginner's guide to filmmaking. And one of the series they used to run on that, it's had several hosts from what I understand, was a series called BFX, is Backyard FX. And it was really fun. It was a lot of how to make people look like zombies when all you have is like a ballpoint pen and and a prayer. Or they did like how to make mini ground explosions with like baking powder and like a bike tube while somebody's running through, and you can do the that you see in movies. It's really cool. It was a really cool channel. But one of the things that they had on that channel was a video about how to make your own sci-fi armor. It was just vague. It was just like sci-fi armor. I think this is around the time foam cosplay stuff was it was like this infancy of like people realizing that this is a very viable thing for lots of different ideas and practical applications. Like well before we had dedicated foam or products for this kind of hobby. And it was a really cool video. I really resonated with it. And I made, and you might be able to find it somewhere deep in the archives of my Facebook page, I made a vest, like an armored vest, and I ran L-wire through it, and I was so proud of it. And it was just like a big plate metal mess. It was really cool for me. Personally, I can't speak to the people who saw it, but I really enjoyed making it, and that actually got me into a crafting group on Facebook where I discovered what Pepakura was, and this was, of course, a little bit before, you know, there were a lot of tutorials. Other than like vaguely go out and make. This is a thing you can do. And so I sort of started toying with Pepakura. Oh, thank you very much. I started toying with Pepakura a lot more, and I eventually made what was my first like replica build, which was a Mark VI Iron Man helmet, and that was really fun for me. I really enjoyed making it, and it sort of started my love affair with replica prop making. Of course, I've gotten better at it over time, and part of my joy really has been not only replica prop making, but getting to make some of my own things. I'm really excited. So this is a commissioned build this Beskar suit, so you know, we'll be checking in periodically with it, but I'm going to be doing a lot of work behind the scenes on this, as I do with all of our live builds. But I've also got another commission right now coming through where it's a custom cyberpunk thing. It's got some other stuff going on too, and I don't want to give too much away because it's not really a build that I'm going to do a full build guide for, so much as like some of the fun techniques that I'm going to get to employ. But it's going to be a lot more custom stuff, and that's really fun for me. It's for the same reason that it's really fun doing the videos where I'm like 3 crazy half masks to enjoy the weirdness that is needing to wear a mask outside. You know, let your fun cosplay flag sort of lie. Ugh. Here we go. Okay, and then, oh, I need to cut out this inner bit right here. Ooh. Little tiny details like this make your builds look so sharp, but they are the most agonizing thing to do. Oh boy. Especially because if you're not careful, if you overcut this, you're going to wind up with detail lines that will sort of mold themselves when you go to heat form it. What's been my biggest challenge in my journey as a crafter? Lord, I don't know. Here's I'm going to answer this 2 different ways, because I think that there's 2 very different ways you can go with this. One is the most challenging build that I have ever done was probably my recent Star-Lord build, which, I mean, I know I've plugged it several times, but it's worth noting I've made this thing 3 times now, and it's so hyper detailed. It's so hyper detailed. It's the grill of the cheek. It's the inner details in the eyes, making sure the eye cups look just right. You know, everything about this is crazy complicated, and the fact that it fits super nicely too, and that it's got some give to it. Like, this thing just slides on, and it's super comfortable. It really is. It just slides on and off. This has probably been the greatest challenge as a build, but I think my greatest challenge to my crafting journey actually has been a willingness to keep learning about new things. There was a point in my college career where I thought that all I was going to try and focus on doing was acting, and this was just kind of a hobby I did. And then I started working in the costume shop. I met some lovely people, including my professor of costuming, Larissa McConnell, and she's a wonderful person. For anybody who knows her, she's great. And she really encouraged me to learn about all aspects of costuming, and sewing, and other fabrication things. You know, working with leather, working with crazy thermal materials like Phosshape. I don't know if anybody here's ever worked with Phoshape. It's like if you had a fabric that was a thermoplastic. And I know that's a crazy thing to say out loud, but it's what it is, basically. And, you know, the more I learn from other things, the more I can take back to this kind of stuff. And, you know, now I'm making a really big leap behind the scenes here. I'm learning more about sculpting and resin techniques. So we're not really going to move away from foam, but I'm going to have some other things, you know, to supplement the foam. And that's going to be really fun. There we go. These pieces are going to get layered on in a moment. Go. Save some time by cutting all of this together at once. It's okay if these outer edges aren't perfect because we're basically going to shove them against the side of a piece. It's not a big deal. But yeah, that's probably been the biggest challenge in a crafting journey, is learning to continue to learn. And that's not just about making mistakes, that's about making a conscious effort to keep learning new things. Like over the summer, I learned Adobe Suite, and I started teaching myself Blender. And like, I take a look at the big guys, the guys who have their own, like HD Foam is an SKS Props product. He's teaching himself ZBrush right now. And I think that's probably the biggest hurdle as a crafter, is a willingness to continue to learn in the name of a lot of different things, in the name of wanting to stay relevant, and among other things. And that's real. That's a very important thing to learn, is to continue to learn. Let's see if I can just snip this with the scissors. I think I can. All right. With how hard this piece was to cut out, I'm looking at how much I have to do here. I'm thinking to myself that perhaps gluing this thing together tonight was too ambitious. Just a little bit. Oh boy. I think I'm going to try to finish cutting these out. I'll keep taking questions for now. But then I think we might be done for the night. Paint recommendations. Oh my gosh. I mean, oof, this is actually going to be this is a more complicated question than I thought it was. I think that generally speaking, you can't go wrong with pretty much any acrylic paint. I think it's very hard to find a bad acrylic paint because this is just a philosophical thing about paint for you. You should not use paint right out of whatever thing it is except a rattle can. Because most paints are not actually thin enough for you to effectively work with them. I learned that because I do a lot of miniature terrain stuff. I do terrain because I'm a dungeon master, and I do fun game nights occasionally when I can. And I love using miniature terrain. And one of the things that you really need with miniature terrain is extremely thin paints. But even for bigger things that you're trying to paint, it's worth noting you should add a thinner, or you should add a drop of another color. Just make it a little unique from just out of the can. Or, you know, of course, add washes and things. There's lots of other things you can do too. But that's probably the biggest thing I can recommend, is never use your paint right out of the canister, out of the can, out of the bottle. But in terms of brands, you know, Rust-Oleum has their poop in a group. They know what they're doing. As far as like rattle can paints, I would say generally the same is true of Krylon. They have a better selection of colors, but Krylon tends to have funky interactions with other spray paints, and that's real. That's a rough thing to have to deal with. I've seen it recently on a lot of the prop groups that I'm on, especially when the weather gets super cold. You wind up with people who have lots of problems with paint interactions, and that is so rough to deal with. And I see it a lot more with Krylon, I'll say that. But they do have a better selection in color. Otherwise, quite recently, I had a really great experience with the Plaid FX paints. Which is crazy, because I didn't expect them to be very good. Mostly just because every time I've seen something come out that's like specifically for cosplayers, it always feels like it's more of a marketing ploy than it is they've listened to what people who do this kind of stuff really want, which may sound a little pretentious, and maybe it is, but I think it's worth noting that you can't just market something at somebody if it doesn't work for them. But I did like Plaid FX acrylics a lot. Oh yeah, the cold weather wreaks havoc on spray paint. Although I will say, I don't know what this is about, but I have always had much better luck getting Plasti Dip to cure properly in the cold than I have like on a warm summer's day. And I don't think it's a humidity thing. I think it might be something else. But I've had a lot of luck with Plasti Dip. But it's also part of why, you know, in some of my videos you can see me being like, oh, I wanted to finish in acrylics. And I'm like, I didn't want to finish in acrylics. I wanted to not have to spray paint outside, or I didn't want to tape off. You know, like that's usually why. And acrylics are great for that. I love working with acrylics. I would work with more oil paints, but usually my timelines are not very expanded, or I'm not doing a big enough batch of things for acrylics to make sense for me. So that's really the only reason I don't. Ooh, ouch. Ow. Singer Cosmic. Oh god. Yeah, no, that sounds bad. That's dumb too. I don't know. This is gonna sound rough, but like I have only worked on one sewing machine that I really liked, and it's a Bernina 10 something, I think. And that is the best. It's so nice. It's such a nice sewing machine in a way that I don't understand why other sewing machines exist the way that they do. And I get that it's an expensive sewing machine. It is. I want to say it's like $1,000. But here's the thing. You get that thing serviced once a year for like $40. And it will last you decades. Decades. You may hand it to somebody well after you're done with it. That's how good these machines are. I have a sewing machine right now. I don't know the exact brand. It's like a Viking. It's a Viking something. It's like a Scandinavian machine. It's nice, but I have to get it serviced again, and I just haven't had the will to go out just for that right now. I don't know. It feels too low a priority, even though I do a ton of craft stuff. Okay, let's see here. We're almost done here. All right. So now, let's see. We've got one. I'm glad I labeled these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that will complete the back plate. That will go inside this back rectangle. And I think, because there's now 8:12, I am going to call it for tonight. When you see this next, there will probably be a lot more detailing on it. And when we reconvene next week for more Mando time, because this is going to be a slightly more expanded project. We're going to be working on his bracers, his plates. A lot of the plates are going to be a lot faster because they're basically just 2mm or 6mm foam on top of 6mm foam, which will be great. Although, I am very excited because I picked up some of these big square guys, and I think these are actually going to be perfect for the rib on the shoulder. So I'm really excited to kind of get to fiddle with that on stream, and you know, y'all can see the process as it goes down. And it's also, I do know it helps some people for if they have questions about, you know, making these builds themselves. So these templates are going to be coming out soon. We're going to be doing more Mando time. I'm going to be doing more crafting. Thank you all so much for coming. Big shout out to my patrons, Landon, Jennifer, Pandulce, K-Snake, and of course Austin of AJ Plays Piano. Thank you all so much for your support. If you would like to become a patron, if you want to get shouted out, that link's down below. Check out our giveaways. Check out the channel. Please subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Take care.